The Supreme Court issued a ruling on one of the most consequential election law cases in years, a challenge that could have eliminated the grace periods more than a dozen states use to count mailed ballots that arrived after Election Day. So in the 5-4 opinion, the sharply divided court ruled that federal Election Day statuses do not preempt a Mississippi law that allows mail-in ballots to be counted after Election Day. The Republican National Committee sued the Mississippi Secretary of State Michael Watson over a state law that allows absentee ballots postmarked by Election Day to be counted as long as they arrive within 5 business days. Now note this, more than a dozen states allow mail-in ballots received after Election Day to be counted if postmarked on time, and roughly 30 states have some form of grace period for ballots cast by military personnel or U.S. citizens living abroad. Scott, I'll open it up to you here, just helping our viewers clarify or understand why mail-in voting in ballots are such a problem.
I think a lot of people just question the integrity of the mail-in vote. Someone is not showing up in person. You don't see who they are. They could be filled out by somebody else. I think that's the crux of the issue is how do you validate a mail-in ballot? But I think there are, states do it. There are obviously have to be safeguards that are put into place that make sure that these ballots are legitimate. As opposed to, the grace period, as long as it's postmarked, so it was made before the election day or on the election day. I question why does it take 5 days, for mail to get in? But that's our United States Postal Service. Maybe we could speed that up. But I think that if the rules are we allow mail-in ballots, and if they are postmarked, they should be able to be counted. But there should be a limit, and 5 days is probably an adequate limit.
Now, we know President Donald Trump's been vocally against mail-in voting, and the Supreme Court upheld this to stay put. Is that surprising to anybody?
Well, it's not surprising to me because there's nothing wrong with mail-in ballots. I mean, I understand your point.
I was just making...
It didn't become a problem, however, until some people did not get the outcome that they wanted.
Right.
And so that's when it became a problematic issue. I think we're talking about mail. I've been waiting for 2 weeks on a debit card. So it can take a while for things to arrive in the mail. Everything doesn't work by Amazon-type delivery within a day or 24 hours.
I'm still waiting on that check you said you sent me.
It's in the mail.
Yeah. You have the last point on this.
Yeah, I grew up in Mississippi, so I can say this. This is the most backwards thing I've seen them try to do in a long time, not in my lifetime. They found themselves having to defend something that the officials don't even want themselves. But they did this because it started in during COVID-19, that you have a 5-day grace period because people wanted to mail in, more people wanted to mail in their ballots. They got them in on time. We've had absentee voting ever since I was around. So why is this an issue?
Been a while.
And that's a long time. And Mississippi ought to be ashamed of themselves. This is not an issue. The president ought to be ashamed of himself. This is not an issue. And Keith is right. This is only because you don't like the outcomes, but you don't know the outcome here. And Republicans and Democrats are in the room counting the votes. Right. So it doesn't make none of it makes sense.
When I turned 18, I went off to school, right? And mail-in voting, being from Florida, that was my primary way to get my vote counted. So my parents used to send it to me, and it was a big deal.
John Lewis won his first congressional seat on absentee ballots and mail-in voting. As a young man, I worked on that campaign, and we realized the power of getting students who were leaving Georgia in that district registered to vote. They went off to college, mailed it in. He won.
There
in the
you
military.
go. In the military.
Exactly.
And abroad. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much. That was a good conversation. Stick around on 24 Plus for our bonus segment on the county property tax hike, as well as 201 Poplar issues. But if not, thank you for joining us on ABC24 This Week. We hope you'll join us next week for ABC24 This Week.